Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11, looking over tonight's pitching options. Got an 8-game slate, starts at 7:15. Not as strong as pitching as last night, but it's not bad. At least we have some guys to kind of work with here. Jeff Samardzija looking like a pretty good number one option in terms of safety. Cash games, GPP is going to have some upside just with his strikeout rate this season. Marlins are obviously a team that doesn't strike out a ton. They're right around kind of the league average, which is fine, but 20.6% strikeout rate against righties. 318 WOBA, that's good enough to be 19th in the league. Kind of a pedestrian ISO as well, below average. This is a team that just doesn't, they're a lot of ground ball guys. It's not a big power team outside of like Ozuna and Stanton and Bohr. And even in this ballpark, I'm not particularly worried. Stanton went off last night, but that was against a lefty. So Samardzija looking like a decent guy tonight. What he's done this year has been pretty solid. 10.6% swinging strike rate, 27% strikeout rate, just a 3% walk rate, inducing 22% soft contact. Been really solid. I mean, once again, he's just going to be that guy who just, look at his ERA. It just doesn't match up with Sierra, FIP, XFIP. So he's had those couple blow-up starts where it's really inflated his ERA, but, Samardzija's been one of the better pitchers this year. So I have no issues at home with him in this ballpark. There are some strikeouts to be had in this lineup. The price tags really aren't bad on either side as well. So in terms of safety, cash games, I'll definitely be giving Samardzija kind of a bump there because no one else really has it. Brandon McCarthy's really cheap. Royals have a really low total, but it's over 90s there. McCarthy coming off, DL. I'm not particularly thrilled with him. He's only 6,900 on DraftKings. You can make the case for him there. Royals have actually not been that bad against, righties over the last month or so. The strikeout rate's dropped down. It's in the teens. I know their overall numbers against righties, they still rank bottom 10 in WOBA and ISO, but they've been definitely a different offense over the last month. So I'm not particularly in love with McCarthy. I don't know if I'm particularly in love with using Royals against him, but I'm just kind of off of him, even at the price. I'd rather take some guys with a little bit more strikeout upside and guys who have been pitching pretty well. So, Samardzija's right there. In terms of other low totals, Pittsburgh's pretty low. Jake Arrieta coming off a good start against Cincinnati, in Cincinnati too. Didn't allow any runs over 7 innings. We've seen kind of on and off games from Jake Arrieta this year. The strikeout rate has been fine. Still missing bats, 9.7% swinging strike rate, 24% strikeout rate. Walks are still a little bit of an issue, up over 8%. Everything's kind of in line with Arrieta being about a low 4 to mid 4 ERA pitcher right now. And I don't see anything that is going to sway him any other way. So, for what it's worth, Pittsburgh's offense are another one. They just don't strike out a ton, 18.8% strikeout rate. They are 24th in WOBA. They are bottom 10 in ISO. Arrieta 8,400 on DraftKings, whatever. It's not a bad price tag. You just basically got to hope that he goes and gets out there, and, gets a quality outing. 9,700 on FanDuel, that's a little bit steep for me. I would definitely prefer Samardzija over him, who's been pitching a lot more consistent and has a little bit higher strikeout rate as well. So he's kind of more the guy that I'll be looking at in terms of GPPs and even tournaments. So, but Arrieta's in play if you want to go that route, but he's not my favorite option on this slate. As far as other guys, we start to kind of drift into a range where, you don't feel completely safe, but there's not some bad options here. Mike Clevenger is the same matchup against, Detroit last time out. Clevenger's been a guy who has been really solid against right-handers this year, and the strikeout rates have been there. He's pitched 6 innings in each of his last 2 starts. He's got 16 strikeouts over that span. Has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in 4 straight starts. Had a little bit of trouble in Coors. is he a safe option? No, but he's going to be facing a pretty right-handed heavy team with only really Alex Avila, Victor Martinez, and Victor Martinez really isn't the same bat that he used to be. And Clevenger, I mean, he's missing bats. I mean, 13.8% swinging strike rate, 28.4% strikeout rate this year. The problem is the 13% walk rate. That's where the real issue is, and still does have some struggles against lefties. But, overall, I think Clevenger is a solid GPP play. Once again, I've said this before. I usually don't like taking guys on back-to-backs against the same team, but Cleveland, decent home favorite, even with Verlander on the hill. Tigers right around a 4-run total. It's not the lowest on the night, but it's definitely not the highest. So you can really make the case for him as an option. FanDuel is 7,600. I don't think that's a bad price. DK 78. So you can afford to give up a couple of runs, and if the strikeouts are there, which they should be, just because Detroit does strike out quite a bit against right-handers, 22.6%. They're just one of those boomer bust teams against righties right now, even lefties as well. But 18th in WOBA, so they're not an offense that's just an instant fade for me. Heading to the later games, Taijuan Walker. This guy's been pitching pretty well. 8 strikeouts against the Rockies, 8 strikeouts, in Coors as well. I don't know if the strikeout rates is really there for me tonight. I know Greinke had 7 of them last night. I wasn't expecting Greinke to have a great start. But look at the Reds. I mean, this is a top 10 offense right now against right-handed pitching. They're kind of league average strikeout rate. It's not a great matchup. I'm kind of actually more inclined to take some Reds bats against Walker. You can make the case for Walker and GPPs. I won't be going that route. It's just at Chase Field against this Reds team that just has a ton of power. I'm kind of staying away. But, at 7K on DraftKings, you can make the case for GPPs. I kind of have some interest on the other side here with Luis Castillo. He's shown some real strikeout upside. Has 8, 9, 5 in his first 3 starts. Coming on the road in Colorado, home against Milwaukee, at Washington. I mean, the walk rate's been high. He's given up a ton of base runners. That's the problem. He's given up, 5 homers in his first 3 starts. So the problem is there. I mean, the home runs are going to regress because what he's doing, he's rolling a 60% ground ball rate so far in those 16 innings. And he's missing a ton of bats. I mean, 14.2% swinging strike rate, 30% strikeout rate. But once again, the issue is the walk rate, 12%. Arizona's a different team at home, obviously, but they're also a team that strikes out quite a bit, nearly 22.5% against right-handers. For 5,900, I mean, yeah, if he goes up and kind of gives you what he did, against Colorado, where he gets you about 15 DK points, that's fine with me for 5,900. You're saving some cash. You can get some bats in there. You can get Coors exposure. So, you kind of have that opportunity to do that with. In terms of a single bullet on FanDuel, if you're building multiple lineups, I don't hate the idea. You can kind of go that route. But, there is some upside, but there's notable risk as well. Next one, Andrew Moore, pitching for Seattle, has gone incredibly deep into his first 2 games. Top 5 prospect for Seattle, 4 strikeouts in his first 2 starts. Went 18 DK points, 17 DK points against Kansas City and Detroit. Has allowed 3 earned runs in each. Has also allowed 3 home runs. Oakland team and an Oakland lineup that's looking a little bit healthier, getting Ryan Healy back. Yonder Alonso's looking healthy. Marcus Semion's back. Oakland with a pretty high run total here, 4.5. I was not kind of expecting that. I was expecting maybe a little bit lower. If you're looking to kind of keep an eye on that one might be dropping as the day goes on. But, Oakland's one of those boomer bust teams. They're top 10 in ISO against righties. They're 16th in WOBA, but they have that 25.5% strikeout rate that you're really after. Andrew Moore, 6,300. I think he can go out and have another quality start. I like what I've seen from him so far. 7,300 on FanDuel. You can make the case for him as well as a single bullet option and kind of just load up on bats because there really aren't a lot of mid-range guys. It's Jake Arrieta up top, which I feel like he's kind of overpriced more on FanDuel, but DK is playable. It's kind of Jeff Samardzija, and then you kind of get to that tier. There's no middle ground for a lot of safety. So, bats, once again, should be a kind of a high-scoring one. You get the game in Texas with an 11-run total. Cleveland bats actually have a pretty high run total there as well. So, there's a lot to kind of go after. Los Angeles, these bats. So, I think these pitchers are going to have no issue fitting in whoever you want with them. So in terms of FanDuel cash games, I think Samardzija is your logical option. I don't see any way else around it. In terms of DraftKings cash games, I don't mind Samardzija, obviously. And then I don't mind kind of an Andrew Moore as an SP2. Jake Arrieta 8,400, you can make the case for him. He brings a little bit of a risk, but that kind of is the same thing with all these guys. So those guys would be cash, while Andrew Moore, Luis Castillo, I think are more reserved for GPPs. Sorry, Andrew Moore you can play SP2 wise in any format, but the rest of these names you can definitely look at more towards GPPs. Let's wrap things up. You can head over to DaveFantasyCafe.com, check out great tools and content.